I can't even describe what I was feeling. It was like the most crushed I ever been. Like, I don't know, when I was like, you know, when you're like, oh, we are going home soon, we are getting closer, everything's going so well, she can, all these happy things are happening and all these amazing things are happening that should be happening, and then now we are just back, everything just back on the shipping machine. Like, at that point I was so upset that I just turned. They told us that she has to go back because she was having issues breathing during the night, and so they just thought it's better to put her back on it. But I couldn't listen. I just turned back and I went into the room they have there for with snacks, the kitchen, and I was just crying. And then at that point I couldn't go back, and I was like, she was, you know, like, she was crying. I think she was fighting the machines. She hated them to start with. She was off of them for a few days and she was so happy, and now they were putting it back on her. She was fighting with everything she had. I couldn't help her, and when I was into the room, I only wanted to do one thing, and I was just go and grab her and take her from there, or, you know, push the people out of the window. I couldn't be in the same room at that point, so I had to go out. I was crying, and then I had to go home. I couldn't handle it, and then basically I spent the whole day crying, and then in the evening, by the evening I got a little bit better, and then we went in to see her and cuddle her with the CPAP machine. And the baby, of course, like, she was moving, bundled up around the incubator in the evening when we got there, and she took out her feeding tube, and they had to put it back in. So yeah, at that point she was 1296 grams. So yay, that's an improvement. And the next day actually they took her off the CPAP machine, so she was only on it for 24 hours and then never again, thank God. So it was a really huge emotional setback, but actually it wasn't a huge setback, because the next day they took her off again, and then she never had to go back. We did hear a cute story that this one day from the nurse, saying that when they took her diaper off to change it, she peed on her. So, and they had to clean the whole incubator, you know, because usually they clean the incubator once a day, and it was always when we went in at 7 p.m. Then we were cuddling with her, and they could easily clean the incubator and change the sheets and everything. But this was fun. They had to clean it twice that day. And the next day, she actually climbed out of the little diaper somehow, and then she had poop all over the incubator, so they had to clean it twice that day as well. These are just little cute, funny stories. And then a couple of days later, when they took off the diaper to change her, she pooped. And the incubator was dirty again, they had to clean it. So she was quite something, like, everyone knew her. Right? She was, interesting enough, she was the one that could cry the loudest in that whole NICU section. Like, when we went in, and you heard a loud cry, we knew it's our baby. Like, she could cry really, really loud. And at this point, she's only 5 weeks after she was born. So this was at 33 weeks. She's quite crazy, but yeah, I love these funny stories, you know. So we are at she's at 33 weeks, and again I was putting her to my breast, and she was actually sucking, and they finally let her to actually breastfeed a little bit. And everyone was completely amazed, because at that age supposedly they can't do it that well. Like, because she was sucking, you could see that she's swallowing, and she was doing it perfectly fine. And they said that it means that she's very smart. I don't know why, but there's a connection. Supposedly she's very smart, that she can breastfeed so well at 33 weeks. And most babies that are older than her cannot do it that well that she can. So that's what they told me, and this was actually the, how do you call the lady that's the specialist, you know, the breastfeeding specialist, because every NICU has one, and that's all she does. She just talks about, helps you with the breastfeeding. So she was there, and she checked how well she's doing it, and they saw that she and the other nurse, that she's not getting tired and everything. So she was the one who said that she's doing really well, and most older babies can't do it this well, and that from now on we can finally breastfeed her every day. So yay, 33 weeks we started to breastfeed her every day once for now. So when I went in at noon, and I was breastfeeding her, no, actually at that point once a day I was breastfeeding her at 7 p.m. And basically what happened is that they weighed her before, and they weighed her after the breastfeeding session to see how much milk she got in, and then whatever she didn't get in, they gave her through the tube. So at 5 weeks after her birth, she could go, I let her breastfeed as long as she would by herself, and she went on for a whole 10 minutes, so that was awesome. And every time she was breastfeeding, they were telling us how amazing it went. She did have a tendency at that point that when she was breastfeeding, she got so comfy, she forgot to breathe, and then her heart rate dropped, her oxygen dropped, and we had to, you know, take her off the breast and just, you know, a little bit shake her or pat her so she breathed again. And that is completely normal with these babies, because they have to learn to suck, swallow, breathe, and supposedly isn't that easy. And she was doing amazing. It just happened maybe once, not even every session, like every second, third session, that she had a point when she forgot to breathe. And of course after she's breastfeeding, she sleeps so good. And this is getting to the point when she started breastfeeding, she started to refuse her pacifier. So I didn't have to worry about the pacifier, because whenever she was breastfeeding and they gave her, well, once she started to breastfeed and they gave her the pacifier, she was like, yeah, no, this isn't, not the breast, I don't want it, no. So she actually made everyone's life a lot harder, because before they could just give her the pacifier if she was crying, or, you know, when they were changing her or when she was fighting, and now it wasn't working anymore. But I was so glad that she's basically off the pacifier. Like, she accepted it once in the blue moon at that point. Her head was finally getting beautifully, you know, round, that she didn't have all the hat on her all the time. So at that point, and I will talk about this more when I do a breastfeeding video, I mean, it's so hard. She's great, but I have to, you know, I have to catch that point when she opens her mouth wide enough that I can put in not just a nipple but the ear. So basically it's really a lot of practice from me. She's practicing the whole, you know, sucking, eating, swallowing, breathing, and I have to practice to actually get her on at the right time. And it's not easy, to tell you the truth, it's not easy. I was still pumping every 2 hours. At that point, obviously, when I was breastfeeding, I still had to pump afterwards because she couldn't take all the milk out. So I usually pumped right after, but yeah. By this time, she actually breastfed for half an hour. For half an hour, yes. So she was going on for... she wasn't getting tired, but everyone was amazed because at that age, supposedly these babies get tired so easily. Like, that's why they don't let her breastfeed more than once a day, so she doesn't tire herself out. And she doesn't seem tired at all. But I think she could go on forever. And then she falls asleep with the breast in her mouth, the nipple in her mouth, which is super cute. And I put her in her bed, and then she gets super angry. Anyways, I have to finish this video because my battery is blinking at me. So I didn't get as far as I wanted to today, but I have to finish the video. So just getting kind of everything back together. So at this point she was breastfeeding amazingly, and they started her on MCT oil, but she was doing well on the protein as an additive. And I see you in the next video. Thank you. Bye.